Alrighty, folks. Apologies for the small technical hitch there. I have just a small technical problem which I'm trying to resolve. We'll be Alrighty, folks. Apologies for the small. We'll be getting underway in just a second. Alrighty, should be here now. Everybody should be able to see me, hopefully. Hopefully that will be resolved in just a second. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone is well. I'm running a little bit behind today, so I am really sorry. So I'm kind of not even halfway ready yet. There we go. Should be a little bit closer to getting started. So we have 9 people here already, which is really cool. Raina says, I am seeable and sound is okay. Yeah, I have to apologize for the low quality of the picture. Internet is really rubbish today, like worse than normal. So it's going to be a little bit pixelated. It's going to be a little bit frozen on occasion. And I apologize. There's not a lot I can do about that at this particular moment. So I hope it's not too bad for you. If you think it becomes unwatchable, then please tell me, and we can reschedule for another time if I can get better internet on that particular occasion. Dietrich says, good on my cell, but you're slow on my tablet. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you're watching it on a mobile phone or a cell phone or something like that, then you're probably not going to, as we get into the other stuff that I've got to talk about, you're probably not going to get the best quality audio. But yeah, mobile phones are good if you've got them working. And a tablet is also good. We've got 10 people in the room. And Woodby says it works after a refresh. Cool. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to share this video out. There we go. So that's in the Home Studio Trainer Facebook group. Wow. Raina says, don't wait until next year. You get better internet. Yeah, don't worry. Sometimes my connection is all right. It's kind of livable with, and sometimes it's kind of all over the place. Today, I think, is one of those days when it's just a little bit sketchy at best. I am broadcasting at 720p, but there we go. Not a lot to do about that. I'm very sorry to say. Dietrich says we are a go Houston. Well, that's good to know. But we did have 10 in the room, but now we only have 8. So a couple of people decided that maybe this is not for them, which is a shame. Skip was here. Hello, Skip. How are you doing? Was about to post was posting the appropriate Facebook groups about the live stream. Cool. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Let's see who we have. We have Rainer. We have Kingston. He is here. Luciano over in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Awesome. Love it when we have people from all over the world here. It's great. Skip, as I said. John Wilkins is here. Hey, John. Good to see you. Beatrice, of course. And Woodbeast. No show would be complete without Woodbeast. And who else do we have? I think that is pretty much everybody. Vic 46 is here. That's cool. So we will be getting underway with what I was going to talk about in just a minute or two. But I always like to say hello to folks to start with. So I hope everybody is well and has had a good week. Woodby says, press the thumbs up. Yes, please. Thumbs up is always good. And I've just realized I'm not monitoring my Google Hangout, which means I'm seeing everything like 3 seconds after I do it. So Skip says, Houston is a go for the World Series. Yes, I saw that. Alex Sparkley is here. Good to see you. He says, nice to see you again. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be back doing a live stream. Yes, I heard the Houston Astros took out the New York Yankees in Game 7, which is amazing. Big well done to them. That's a heck of a win for them. It would be nice to see them go all the way and take the World Series. It still amuses me that you call it a World Series when actually no other nation takes part. But there we go. That's just one of the quirks of American sport that amuses me. I think you should call it the American series or something, but then that has less of a ring to it. I get that. And it's less kind of grandiose. So I totally get that. So I hope you guys have all had a good week. Raina says he's a Packers fan. It's more football. Yes. Yeah, you know what? I like baseball, but I've never really been into any particular team. I just like to see a good game played really well by two well-matched teams. That's what I like to see. I'm quite kind of impartial when it comes to baseball. Ice hockey, I have a bit more of an idea of who I follow. I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan when it comes to ice hockey, and I love my ice hockey. But also I follow the Edinburgh Capitals as well, who are a fantastic side. They would get completely destroyed by the Blackhawks, though. Edinburgh Capitals, no doubt about that. What's that you've just said there, Skip? I'm not quite sure what that says. Cricket, right? Yes, cricket. That's a tough one for me, actually. In terms of Test match cricket, which is the 5-day game, it would have to be England for sure, because Scotland does not have a Test match side. 1-day international, Scotland does have a side, but they are not very good. Interestingly enough, Ireland have just gained Test match status, so that would be interesting. But yes, I love my cricket. I'm an ex-county player. I played county cricket in my youth, which is good. I played for Cornwall and for Surrey, and until I was very, very badly injured, and that pretty much ended any hopes of being a professional in the sport. Dietrich says Steelers. Yeah. UFC fan. No, I'm not. Ultimate Fighting. No, I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I'm not into boxing. I did do Taekwondo for a while, and did pretty well at that. I got some very colorful belts doing Taekwondo. Again, I had to stop because of injuries I got playing cricket. F1 Live today. Oh yeah, it was the US Grand Prix recently, I believe. And darn it, what's his name? Hamilton, the British driver. Looks like he could overtake one of the greatest Scottish racing drivers of all time, Jackie Stewart, for most world championships by a British racing driver. Yeah, the GP in Austin, Texas. Yes. Yeah, I do watch a bit of Formula One. I am actually a relative of David Coulthard, the former Formula One driver. He is my, let me think about this. I think he's my third cousin, something like that. Mike is here of MJN Studios. Sickly Guys, awake for a little, and I'm very glad you are here, my friend, and I wish you very well, because I know you've not been very well at all. And I do hope that you go and get to see a doctor and get that checked, get yourself checked out, and see if we can't get a cure for whatever it is that's making you ill, mate, because it doesn't sound good at all. So I'm praying for you. I hope you get well soon, mate. But I'm very glad that you're here, and hopefully together we can cheer you up and make you feel better. John Wilkins says, God bless Jackie Stewart. Yes, one of the finest racing drivers ever, in my opinion. And yes, absolutely. Yes, I do like a bit of Formula One, and I do enjoy my sports. Other sport that I like would be rugby union. You guys probably are not in the slightest bit into it. But yeah, rugby union. I played some rugby union when I was at college as a fly half. It's a great game. And you think American football is violent? You've never been to a rugby union match. Seriously. And we don't wear pads or helmets. So there we go. We're getting into this. Raina says, my favorite sport is cooking and eating cupcakes. I'm not sure that eating cupcakes counts as a sport, but that said, darts counts as a sport, so maybe cupcakes should, because I don't know. I think it requires the same amount of physical effort. Cooking is good. I'm absolutely the world's worst cook. My wife will tell you. Yep. So far, nobody has died at my hands when it comes to cooking, but I have dished out a little bit of food poisoning. A few times, mostly to myself, but yeah. NASCAR, yes, I love NASCAR as well. 300 laps going round and round in circles. You can't beat it. And all you have to do is go straight, turn left, go straight, turn left, go straight, turn left. And you do that at 200 miles an hour. At least 200 miles an hour. It's obscene. Whoopi says, my favorite sport is lifting weights, 12 ounces at a time. Yes. One of my favorite sports is lifting a pint glass to my lips and drinking it. We have a rugby group close to where I live. It's pretty brutal, says Mike. Yes, rugby is brutal. How people don't get killed playing the sport, I don't know, but we don't. And Scotland, one of the really great Northern Hemisphere rugby playing countries. And especially when we play England, it is super brutal. The rivalry between Scotland and England is incredible. But usually once the game is over, you know, both English fans and Scottish fans will go to a pub, especially if the game is here in Scotland. We'll quite happily go to a pub together and drink plenty. So there you go. That's me in sports. Maybe that's something you guys don't really know about me, is that I am passionately into support. Yes, I'm passionately into supporting you guys, and I'm passionately into supporting the teams that I do support, the few that I do support. But I am passionate about sport. So there we go. So let's get into it, shall we? It is going to be a normal Q&A kind of day to day, like we normally do, because of my low bandwidth. I can't really do too much in the way of demos in Studio One, but I did think we could have a little discussion around the subject of parallel compression. And we could talk about different ways to approach it and different ways to actually do it in Studio One, and plugins that are really, really good for it. You can use the Studio One compressor and get a really good sound. I've definitely done that and got a really, really good sound. Or you can use the Fat Channel and use the 1176 style compressor that is in the Fat Channel, and just hit the all buttons in button and dial up some pretty brutal compression and then blend it in. And it does sound epic, actually. I've done it that way, and it beats, to be honest, the 1176 style compressor in the Fat Channel beats the Studio One stock compressor hands down for parallel compression, in my opinion. You guys, your experience might vary, but certainly that's how it is for me anyway. And the other way that I have found of doing it is if you are a subscriber to the Slate Digital Everything bundle, then in your virtual mix rack, you will have something called the Monster. The Monster is epic parallel compression, because it's pretty much designed as a parallel compressor, if you like. It basically simulates the all buttons in on the 1176 compressor. Bobby says, what about the Waves 1176? Yes, you could use that as well and do the same thing. I'm not sure whether it has the all buttons in button on the Waves 1176. I've not looked, to be honest. But if it has, yes, you can use the all buttons in. If not, just use the 20:1 ratio and just absolutely squash the living daylights out of it and then blend it back in to your audio. Now, for me personally, most of my parallel compression is done on drums, but it's not exclusive to drums. I have experimented recently with using parallel compression on a lot of different audio sources. So definitely, I have found it works really well with bass. If kind of what you're mixing is kind of either pop or rock or house or something like that, then parallel compression on a bass really, really works, especially if you then sidechain that. If you're doing sort of EDM or house or something like that, sidechain your parallel compression to the kick drum sound, which is also parallel compressed, and you really do get that smacking, thumping, pumping effect, which is really, really cool. Bobby says, I use it on all instruments. Yes, that is the Andrew Sheps way of doing things, and David Vignola is an advocate of that. To be honest, I've not really done that. That's not to say that I couldn't. I certainly could. It's not really a mixing methodology I've ever really explored in too great detail. I have watched several Andrew Sheps videos where he talks at great length about his parallel compression methodology, and I really like it, and the results he gets is really, really cool. Because I work with mostly acoustic music and jazz, you don't really do parallel compression particularly. So most of my clients, I'm not using it. So it's not really a part of my general mixing methodology, but it is something that I can do when the occasion demands it. You know, jazz is not something you want to go heavy with compression at all, really, because it's the wrong style of music for that. Compression in jazz music needs to be light, subtle, and pretty transparent, or at least, you know, kind of not something you can hear exactly. You know, you would use it for color, and you'd use it you'd use it basically just to provide a little bit of color, but also a little bit of control of dynamic range, but not a whole lot. So compression is quite light, quite sparing in jazz music and folk music, acoustic music. That's kind of what I do. And a cappella music, that's kind of what I mix for the most part. That's not to say I don't. At the moment, I'm working on a house remix of a pop record that I did with a client in April, and he's decided he wants to do like a house version of that now. So I'm getting into some different compression techniques than I would normally use. So I'm relying heavily on reference tracks to get, you know, to get the right kind of approach to compression and, you know, the right kind of stylistic sound. So Bobby says I use it on all instruments. Mike says I use it all the time. Bobby says I use it on rock only. Yes, I would only use it on rock or something heavy. Mike says, I gotta go. TV isn't helping my head. Mike, I hope you get well soon, buddy. Drop me a line. Let me know how you're getting on, mate, okay? And stay in touch. And if you do get to the doctor, let me know what you find out, okay? We'll be looking out for you. But thanks for coming. Good to see you. Get well soon, buddy. Okay, so basically, I think most of you know what we're talking about when we're talking about parallel compression, which is great. I was going to show you basically how I approach it, but as I say, I don't really use it very much. I have not really a need to, unless I'm doing something that's a bit more rock orientated, which is the great thing about, I don't know if how many of you are now in the Learning to Mix subscription website. If you're in that, the great thing about that is that you get some really great songs in a variety of different styles where all sorts of compression techniques are very applicable. Some of the last couple of mixed challenges in the Studio One Sessions group have been really great for that kind of stuff as well. So we have 11 people here. Of the 11 of you that are here, how many of you are Slate subscribers? That would be a question I would like to ask you guys. Normally, you guys ask me the questions. So this time I'm going to ask you some questions. Ray says so many different genres require different styles of compression. That's correct. Yep, definitely. The more acoustic your music, generally speaking, the more subtle you need to be with your compression. If you're using a lot of electric instruments like electric guitars, and you're using a lot of distortion and very heavy drumming, really pounding, smacking drumming, then yeah, you need to use much more compression. Let's see. Raina, Kingston, Verk 46. Skip is not on Slate Everything Bundle here. That's interesting, Skip. I thought you were, my friend. I am a recent subscriber, so it's all still a little bit new to me, but I tell you, I'm absolutely loving it. It's really taking me in a lot of ways, taking me back to where I started mixing, which is on analog gear, way back last century. Long before YouTube, long before Studio One. A long time before that, in fact, when everything was if there were computers, when we were just starting to use them, they were tiny little screens about so big, and they were monochrome, so they had no color to them. Woodby says he is not a Slate fan. Okay, that's interesting. I would like to know why. That would maybe be grounds for some discussion throughout the course of this show at some point. I think maybe I could understand if you're going from the fact that it's like a monthly subscription thing and you don't ever actually own the plugins in that sense. You're effectively renting them, I guess. So I kind of understand that to a degree. Bobby says I'm fixing to cancel my Slate due to money, hard time. Well, the good thing about the Slate bundle, Bobby, is that you can take it back up again when you're financially able to. I don't think it's just like you cut it off and then you can't reopen the account again. Raina says, I like the new stuff. I don't know why, but I prefer, but he doesn't finish the sentence. Woodby says, isotope plugs for me. You know what? I really quite like isotope plugs, and I think they are even doing a sale at the moment. If you go to audiodeluxe.com, I think you will find some isotope plugs on sale, which is very cool. I have some isotope plugins. Actually, isotope are really good for things like mastering and very specific kind of processing stuff. Verk says, lately using Gosh stuff. Pretty amazing. Yes, I hear lots of good things about it. My good friend Warren Hewitt has some Kush stuff. I think he even has some hardware made by them. I think he has like a hardware compressor made by them. And he raves about that. Recording Studios 9 is here, my good friend. How are you, mate? Good to see you. He says another late night. Yes, another late night for me. It'll be early in the daytime for you. It must be nearly lunchtime for you, actually. Well, I hope you're enjoying your day, my friend. Kush Audio is great hardened software. Yes, I hear lots of good things about them, but I have not got any of their plugins. Bobby says Waves in stock for me for a while. Well, you know what? Waves plugins are fantastic. They really are. Their SSLE channel and the G channel, which they did have on sale during the summertime, were really, really cool. And in fact, that's kind of where it's 10:30 a.m. coffee time. Oh, I suppose it would be. Yes, I've miscalculated by a couple of hours. Yeah. 10:30 is coffee time. Absolutely. It's 12:30 at night here. Now, I should just let you know something before we go any further, folks, that on the 29th of October in the UK, our clocks go back an hour, which means that my midnight broadcast, but it doesn't happen until like 2 a.m. So my midnight broadcast on the 29th should go ahead as normal at the usual time. But the week after, I'm debating, actually, because whether to move it to a different time and a different day, because with our clocks going back, in order for me to meet your 6 p.m., I would have to start at 1 a.m. and go through till 2. So I'm not entirely sure how well that's going to work for me here on a Sunday night. So I may change the day and or the time. I'm not sure yet. That is something I'm thinking about at the moment. So John says UTC goes back an hour. Basically what happens is in the UK, we have British summertime in the summer. And then we go back to GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, for the winter and the spring. And then we're back into summertime. So so we're back for an hour, and then we go back forward again in the late spring, early summertime. So let's see, will it be a custom affair? I'm not really sure what you mean, Woodbeast. Riffman Rob is here. He says, hey, Johnny, just subscribed and liked. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Bobby says, I got the Slate G SSLG channel from Waves. Yes, I have both. There are some very noticeable differences between the two channels. The E channel tends to be kind of a little bit warmer, and the G tends to be a little bit more aggressive, certainly in terms of the compressors on the two channels. So the G channel is fantastic for a rock record. If you're doing a rock record, get the G channel right across the top. And then you've got yourself an SSL 4000G console to play with. Perfect for that kind of thing. Movie Kid is here as well. He says, so silly the clock's changing. I don't know why we do it. Well, it's kind of all to do with, I think, certainly here in the UK, it's all to do with school kids and making sure that school kids are going to and from school in daylight rather than in darkness for their safety and protection. At least that's kind of the way it goes here. Rowena says, I have too much third-party plugins. I have to sell some. It's overwhelming to find the right one. It stops the workflow rather than helps. Yes, that's you see a big talking point actually that maybe we should have. Maybe not tonight, but certainly we should have it about the acquisition of gear, and that includes software. Movie Kid says, no, I think it goes back to farmers and the light for crops or something. Well, I think it maybe is a combination of the two that kind of sold it. I think certainly here. Yeah, the acquisition of gear. Just purchasing plugins for the sake of purchasing plugins because they're on sale is possibly not the best thing, because like Rainer is just saying there, when you want to get a compressor on a channel, you can just be searching through lists and lists and lists of compressors before you find the one you want, especially if they're listed alphabetically. Movie Kid says, no, I think it goes back to farmers and light for crops or something. Historically, I think that's why it used to happen in the UK. Movie Kids Woodby says, you're 100% correct. John says, sorry, Mr. Lipsham, I thought GMT and UTC were the same, but they are not. That's correct. UTC, I think, is universal time. So basically, if you are in space, for example, on the International Space Station, I think all your timings are done in UTC. And I think maybe even if you're in the Navy and you're at sea, everything is done in UTC, which is kind of like a universal time. And GMT is Greenwich Mean Time. And it complete side subject here, but the reason why it's called Greenwich Mean Time is because that is where 0-degree latitude is. I think it's latitude. And basically right through Greenwich, there's a dividing point between east and west. And there's even like a line right the way through Greenwich. So you know that's where 0 degrees is, and that's where exactly midday is. And then anything kind of east of that or west of that, east of that is going to be minus, west of that is going to be plus. Skip says daylight saving time was for productivity and daylight hours. Yes. Riffman says the stream is breaking up. Really? Let me just check. Skip says daylight saving time was for productivity. Okay, I'm still getting the stream audio come through, so you would have got that. So that must be at your end, Riffman. I'm very sorry about that. And Skip, my good friend, who is incredible at research. He says daylight saving time began in Germany on May 1st, 1916, in the hopes that it would save energy during the First World War, according to Michael Downing. Michael Downing is a very learned historical scholar, so I will absolutely accept that. Recording 69, been there, the G line a few years back. Ah, yes. Yes. Well, you see, I used to live in London many years ago. And I lived in a little part of southeast London called Lewisham. And it's only a 20-minute bus ride before you get to Greenwich. And I used to teach in Greenwich. I used to run a youth big band out of Greenwich. And so, yeah, I quite regularly go up to where the clock is, which is basically exactly accurate. It's more precise than the clock tower at Big Ben. So there you go. That's a completely different subject I never expected us to get on tonight. So there we go. That's fun. So we've got 11 people here still, and we're at like 38 minutes into the broadcast, and I still have not done a single demonstration here. We've just been chatting, which is nice. According to Studio 9 says, funny how everyone stood each leg on either side to take a photo, like, and I did it too. Yes, I've done that too. I've had my one foot in the east and one foot in the west. Yeah, I think just about everybody has done that at some stage. If you've ever been to London, that is one of the places to go check out. Go check out Greenwich Mean Time. Absolutely. So let's get ourselves back in the general discussion area for tonight, which is compression and all things audio and mixing. So we were going to have specifically a focus on parallel compression. And then we got a little bit sidetracked there. But we're about 40 minutes into this now. So if you've got any questions on this subject area, get them into the chat and we can talk. We can, I can answer some of your questions, and I can talk about what I do, how I do things, and I can even open up Studio One and get a demo going. I'm going to have it open anyway in the background. And then if we need to, we can get into it. And I can show you how I do it. Especially using the Monster. The Monster is amazing. If any of you you know, ever had a go with it, I definitely recommend it. Let me see. Let's get this one open, and we'll just have it open, and we'll have it ready, just in case we decide we're going to use it. So let's go back to there, and let's get that open as well. There we go. Recording Sunai says, so far I have not taken on Slate Digital and a few other subscription plugins. Rainer says the monster is for free. Is it really? I did not know that. I knew that the Revival plugin, which is equally fantastic, is a free one as well that Slate do. I didn't know the monster was. Whoopi says, how do you fix a bass part with slaps, like the player hits the bass to keep time? Oh, let me see. Do you mean kind of like when he plucks and then he taps the string between the beats, or is he actually with the thumb? Let me know which you're talking about there, Woodbeast. If you mean he taps the string with his fingers or he's thumbing. No, he says. We just wait for Woodbeast's extremely fast typing fingers. And I might actually be able to help you with this one as a bass player. He hits the bass. He hits the bass. What do you mean? He actually like punches it? I don't know. Or do you mean he just like taps the string to kind of damp it? Because a lot of bass players do that. They go ding, 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 ding. I know I kind of do that a little bit. Like notes in time, and then his hand slaps the body. Oh, that's an interesting playing technique. Notes in time, then his hand slaps the body. See, I would only ever do that as a bass player if there was like a particular stylistic need for it in the song. Because otherwise, when you slap the body of the bass, then all the strings are going to vibrate sympathetically with that, unless he's muting the strings with his other hand. And if that's something that's happening, then you can. There are a couple of ways you can approach that. You can find those little percussive effects, which is what they would be, and you can clip gain them. You can use the bass rider from Waves and ride it. I would send you a sample if you have time to listen. Yeah, go ahead, Woodbeast, and maybe we can discuss this a little bit offline as well. We can do that. So I would either clip gain those things or use something like Waves Bass Rider, might help you, and you can just ride the automation for it. Or you could even, if you've got something like a fader port, you could ride the automation at those points, so you're just pulling those down. Automation style, that might be your best bet. And then automate into a compressor. Promise you'll listen. Yeah, I will. Absolutely. And Woodbeast, your song is on my list of things to do tomorrow, so I will listen and I will send you an email tomorrow afternoon, okay? Tomorrow afternoon, my time. And I'll get you some feedback on that. I've not forgotten about your song. So yes, so probably for me, the best way I would do it, if I received that as a track, I would probably automate. Don't know why I'm doing that. That's an interesting gesture for automation. I would automate, and then I would automate, and therefore I'm automating into the compressor and set the compressor with quite a fast attack, so that you're kind of clamping down on those, and you basically then set the threshold so that the compressor really deals with those percussive effects and just clamps down on those. That might be your best bet. Okay, let's go back. There were some other questions there. Excuse me, folks. I have a really dry throat today. And it doesn't matter how many liters of water that I drink. It's not really helping very much. New York compression, do you use it? New York compression is a form of parallel compression. Typically I don't, as I say. Typically for most of my work, I don't use parallel compression, but of any kind. But there are some forms, there are some times when I will on a particular song. Like if I have something that maybe is jazz, but it's also got a backbeat, then yes, I would probably use some parallel compression quite subtly on the drums, just to really, kind of like tame that backbeat a little bit. Just, pocket the drums in particular. Basically anything that is like jazz funk, like Rick Nakvi's Fat Hat Band, for example, I would typically treat that kind of like how I would mix a rock tune, but I would then kind of like dial back my approach a little bit. So it's kind of like I'm mixing it as if it's a rock tune, but then I kind of dial everything back a little bit. So, my compression is more than I would do for, kind of like mainstream straight ahead jazz or bebop or something like that. But it's not as much as I would use for a straight up rock tune. Let's see what else. There's something else there that I missed. What Vec46 says, which are your favorite reference tracks? That's an interesting question. It depends. It depends what I'm mixing, really. I have a relatively big library of music in all kinds of styles, just in case, basically. So if, for example, somebody sends me a country tune to mix or a country record, then I would go to my wife's Don Williams collection. She is a big Don Williams fan. I cannot stand the stuff personally, but when I'm mixing, it's a professional job, so I take what I get. So I would then listen to some Don Williams records or something like that, or even Gareth. What's his name? Forgotten his name. No, not Gareth. Garth Brooks. Maybe some of his stuff. If I'm mixing country, I would maybe reference something like that. John Wilkins says Donald Fagen. Yes, Donald Fagen I would reference if I'm mixing something that's similar to that. Like if I'm mixing my own tunes, for example. I quite like his production values. He's not a big fan of reverb, neither am I. So he doesn't use very much of it. So a lot of his records tend to be quite dry sounding, I guess. So if you're into that kind of thing, then yeah. John says, where is your wife from? Did she buy the Time Life books set for Don Williams? My wife is from Glasgow. And as far as I know, she does not have the Time Life book set for Don Williams. But she has a good number of his records on CD. So when she puts them on, I typically tend to go out to the shops. Or I come in here and I close the door. It's not my thing at all, in the slightest. I am not a country fan at all. But, if it comes my way and the client is good and, the songs are good and the recordings are good, then I will mix it. It's a professional job. They're going to pay me to mix it. So that's how I work. But as I say, mostly I do jazz and popular music, jazz and acoustic music for the most part. Rena says, Tim Armstrong from New Zealand. I know lots of people from New Zealand. Tim Armstrong, I don't think is one of them. And Don Williams did pass on September 8th of this year. Yes, he did. My wife decided on that day that she should play lots of Don Williams because she was quite sad that he died. So, but bear in mind, the week before that, Walter Becker died, so I played lots of Steely Dan. So, you know, we kind of we found an equilibrium there. Skip says, I like the name Gareth better. I quite agree, because Gareth is a Welsh name. Unlike Gath. Beatrice is here. Hello, Beatrice. Good to see you. I'm not really sure. I name-checked you when you came in, so I do apologize. She says, I freaked a club out in Alabama with Carrie Underwood's Cocktail Country Affair. John says, Don Williams is actually a reference of sorts. He is held in high esteem. I'm not sure why. I do respect it, though. I have friends going date Tuesday. Venue Pier 6 Pavilion, Baltimore for Steely Dan. Yes. Steely Dan minus Walter Becker. I really don't know. I know Donald has this passion to continue Steely Dan so that he can continue to keep the body of work that he and Walter created over 45 years, to keep that alive and keep that going. I really respect his passion for that, and to do that in honor of his great friend Walter. But I'm not really sure how long he would be able to do that for. So this tour may possibly be the last Steely Dan tour, unfortunately. I get that feeling that it might be, because Donald has his own band now. He has the Night Flyers band, so yeah. Whitby says, I'll ask them to video a bit. Well, good luck with that, because I don't think Donald has ever been happy with people videoing their performances and putting them up on YouTube. So, yeah, that might be an issue there. Donald Hill is here. Welcome. Good to see you. He says, question, I'm mixing my first multi-track that Johnny has going. What would you recommend to me on learning to get around on Studio One? I would recommend wholeheartedly following Johnny's live streams as he mixes this song. So if you're kind of coming in halfway through, my suggestion would be go back to the start of this little live stream series through the course of this last week and start from there. He also has some beginners videos specifically. He has a proper playlist for beginners. And then, of course, there's his 5 minutes videos, his little 5 minutes videos. I can't remember what he's calling those, Take 5 or something. I would recommend going and watching those of his. And you will find, Donald, that I have a good selection of videos on here. I've got 106 videos for Studio One on my own channel. My first few videos were pretty awful, so if you can kind of excuse that, then that would be great. But certainly, I've done a lot most recently, and they're much better quality videos. Our Guitar 78 is here. Good evening to you, sir. Glad to have you here. Skip says, another fun fact about Don Williams, he founded the Pozzo Secco Singers until going solo in 1969. Well, I did not know that. Thank you very much for that fun fact about Don Williams. I didn't know that at all, actually. He's a heck of a singer, or at least he was a heck of a singer. That is for sure. You know, whether I like country music or not is largely irrelevant. He's actually a very good singer. Donald says, awesome, thank you. Well, you're very welcome. Go check out Johnny's really rather enormous YouTube library of videos he has. I mean, Johnny is probably the original Studio One guru, alongside people like there's a guy called Bill, I've forgotten his last name. Bill Edstrom, who was also one of the very first content creators for Studio One in YouTube. So Those are all done in version 2. So if you're on the current version, version 3, then yes, Jonny's most recent videos are great for that. Woodby says, for your information, Steely Dan performing Josie at Paradise Cove, October 12th, 2017 is on YouTube. Well, that's good to know. Josie is one of my favorite songs. It's brilliant. Not just because it's funky as heck, which it is, especially when Keith Carlock is the drummer. But I was going to say something, and yeah, and the chord changes are just a thing of beauty. You know, I mean, it's a great thing to have a song, you know, that starts. For them to have, you know, these kind of descending major 9 chords. It's brilliant. It's a wonderful song, and the lyrics are hilarious. Johnny's just sent me a message. What is this? Something strange going on with the interface I was using. Okay, that's cool. Skip says, I forecast a plethora of new videos from multiple sources soon. You know what, Skip? I think you may be more accurate than the weather, my friend. I have... where's my notepad? Here it is. I'm not going to show it you, but I have... because I don't want to give it all away. But I have about 10 pages in this notepad worth of titles for videos and content ideas for videos for Studio One. And with other things that may or may not be in certain pipelines that may or may not be coming, one never knows. I don't know. There may be a whole bunch of phenomenal content coming from people like me and Jonny and a few others as well. So Skip, I think you're absolutely right. Woodby says it's great quality. Steely Dan is one of a kind. Yes, absolutely. Steely Dan are a wonderful band, and Roger Nichols, who is their recording engineer for pretty much all of their records, is pretty much hands down responsible for the sound of Steely Dan in terms of their production. Elliot Shiner was the mix engineer for most of Steely Dan's records in the 70s, and as well in their kind of their new period, their 21st century period, with Two Against Nature, which he won a Grammy for, by the way, and Everything Must Go, which he just missed out on a Grammy for mixing. But he did get the Grammy for the surround sound mix, the 5.1 surround sound mix. Elliot Shiner is a seriously good mix engineer. In fact, my go-to snare drum sound is the snare drum sound on Black Cow from Asia, where you get, let me think, how does it go? No, hang on. That song in particular, and it's just like there's just so much space in the beginning of that song for the snare drum, which is played by Ed Green, I believe, and it's a beautiful sound. Our Guitar 78 says, Jonny, if you aren't playing live, would you find a MIDI controller like a Hammer 88 better for use with Studio One as a dedicated keyboard piano synth? As a dedicated keyboard? No. I'll tell you why. I use this guy audio, so it's plugged in from the outputs on the back. And and this guy I use for MIDI stuff. So basically, this guy does drums, horns, and strings, and that kind of stuff. So I'm not really worried about, kind of like, weighted action for those kind of things. And certainly if I'm doing Hammond organ, I don't need a weighted action. But the cool thing about the Clavier Nord here is that when I'm in Hammond organ mode, like when I'm in Hammond organ mode like this, is the action of the keys automatically changes so that it's much lighter than it would be for piano or for Fender Rhodes. So it adjusts, which is very clever. So there you go. Woodbeast wants me to play some Reeling in the Years. I could, but I don't want to wake my kids because I would have to sing it as well. And they are sound asleep next door. So I have to be careful at this time of night about volume. So I don't mind playing the keyboard because I can run the sound through to my speakers very quiet and you get to hear full volume. But if I'm singing as well, oh dear God. If I'm singing as well, that's going to wake the kids next door. So there we go. Really do apologize about my throat. It's really it's just dry and tickly today. It's nothing sinister. Whisper it. Your everlasting summer, you can see it fading fast. So you grab a piece of something that you think is gonna last. Yeah, that's gonna be quite hard to do because I'm gonna have to be over here and over here. It's a bit of a stretch. Wrong sound. Wrong sound entirely. Your everlasting summer, you can see it fading fast. So you grab a piece of something that you think is gonna last. Well, you wonder a diamond if you held it in your hands. The things you think are precious, I can't understand. Are you reeling in the years? Storing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? You had enough of mine. Are you reeling in the years? Storing away the time? Yes, Paul Humphrey, Black Cow. Thank you. Not Ed Green. Although Ed Green is on the Royal Scam quite a lot. No, he's not. Jeff Picardo is. Ed Green is on. Oh darn it! What song is he on? He is on the Asia record. I'm pretty sure of it. Yeah, Paul Humphrey was playing a Ludwig Black Beauty snare drum on that date when he did Black Cow. What I love about that drum part is it's so simple and yet so ridiculously funky. There's nothing crazy going on there. There's no, there's not really any ghosted notes going on the snare drum between the beats, and the kick drum is just basically boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom. That's all it is. It's just one of the most tasteful drum performances around. So there you go. Whoopi says, JL, you rock, man. Thank you very much. Let us all clap. Thank you. I appreciate it. We've got 15 people in here. Ed Green is on Peg. Thank you, John. I knew he was on the Asia record. I just couldn't remember which song it was. Peg, yeah, that's a great song. I couldn't sing it and play it at the same time because I'm too far away. John says, will you play my wedding? Yes, if you'll pay my flight over there. And, you know, a bed and a roof over my head. Absolutely. I'd be delighted to. And Rainer is clapping. Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe I should do an online concert maybe one day. That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? An online show. I don't know whether my internet would make it watchable. It might not. That might be an issue. I don't know how we would do that. Yeah, actually, I'm just looking at the broadcast just now, and it doesn't look too bad. Picture quality is all right. It's freezing every now and then. I don't know. Would you guys be up for that? If I was to do an online show in one of my live streams, just do a show instead of a live stream? And would you consider it watchable, given my low bandwidth? John says yes. Would-be says heck yes. That's 2. That's an audience of 2. That's good. That's better than just me on my own. I would have to practice. Rainer says he would be there. Yeah, I would seriously have to practice. I could do maybe a mixture of my own stuff and maybe like use Studio One for backing tracks to augment my playing, and I could do some Steely Dan tunes as well. But the thing with doing Steely Dan tunes is that I could get copyright strikes, so I don't want to do that. So I have to be careful. Yeah, bring it on, says Verk46. See, with doing my own stuff, we would not have a problem with copyright, but doing some Stevie Wonder or doing some Steely Dan, that would be a problem, and I don't want to get copyright strikes. Kingston says he would watch. Well, that's good to know. Who was it who had a question? Would-be says he has one last question before we go. Deirdre says, of course. John says, will you go half with me? Do you do my last CD live? Yeah, I could do. I could do my EP live. It wouldn't be very long because the songs, there's only 5 songs, but yeah, I could do that. I could use I could just like mute the vocal and the piano and maybe do some piano and vocal live with the backing tracks. Could do that for certain. That could be quite good. What a good idea. Our Guitar 78 says, I thought you were fine to use live performance for copyright without strikes, just can't monetize. I am not sure. I would have to check that. Woodby says, how close are you to my birthday wish? I unfortunately am a considerably long way off, I'm afraid. But here's hoping. Here's hoping that I achieve that target eventually. It would be nice. I mean, it was a wish. I mean, it would be great if I could get across, but I don't know. I don't know how possible that is, how doable it is, and you know, I am not going to do a GoFundMe page or anything like that because I'm not sure personally I could do that with a clear conscience, to be honest. If you do decide to donate, then seriously, I'm not asking you to, because I wouldn't. I don't ask for donations. I don't solicit donations. If you do make donations, then it's purely on you guys. It's whenever you want to, whenever you choose to. Or you could just pay me to do a mix critique or something. That would be just as fine. Woodby says live show charge for tickets. Oh, that is an idea. There's an idea. If I made it a private broadcast, I'd have to collect names of people who have paid. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I mean, I know that there are platforms for it, like Concert Window, for example, is a platform where you can do online performances. So I'll maybe look into that, folks. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that one works out. Whoopi says, explain your wish. Okay, I'll explain my wish. My wish is to be able to get across the United States for a couple of reasons. Number one, my sister is in the Chicago area, in the Grayslake area of Chicago. And I have not seen her for 10 years. Because she can't afford to get over here, I can't afford to get over there. So the last time I was over there was in 2006, was the last time I went over there, and then she came over to my wedding in 2007. Recording Studio 9 says, not sure if it's just me or it's the stream very choppy. Well, it may well be very choppy because my bandwidth is rubbish. My internet is absolutely awful. My upload speed, if I'm lucky, is 1 meg per second. If I'm lucky. So that's why picture quality can be a little bit hit or miss. So I do apologize. If, however, you're getting buffering, that's not happening at my end here. And I'm watching the broadcast. So if we're getting buffering, that may well be something else at your end. Guitar78 says, thumbs up the video, peeps. It helps a lot. It most certainly does. I appreciate it. There are 15 of you here, and we have 11 thumbs up already. That's cool. Whoopi says, Skip, come on, man. JL deserves a donation also. Well, you know what? I appreciate it very much, Woodbeast. I really appreciate your passion for getting me across the pond. It means a lot to me. It really does. It means more to me than I could ever communicate either on a live stream or in an email. So thank you very, very much. And to those of you that have donated to me, thank you very, very much. I really, really, really do appreciate it. But like I said, I'm not soliciting donations, because that's not me. I don't do that. But you can if you wish. And I can give you a link to go and do that. Which would be, hang on, I'm just getting the link. Hang on, I pressed the wrong button, damn it. So you could go and put it here if you want to. But as I say, it's optional. I'm not requiring it. You can if you wish. Deirdre says, JW, I have a vocal exercise for you. Not great, but I'm getting there. Stopped singing. Long story, lost my voice. Oh, well, I'm very sorry to hear that, Deirdre. John says, Mr. Lipsham, you understand you'll be a mule and have to dress as a pregnant woman to bring scotch over to Chicago. That's fantastic. Wibby says, we know JL, but you are just as important as anyone else. Well, thank you very much. Very kind. Very much appreciated. We have gone over by 15 minutes. I mean, I was a little bit late getting started, so I've allowed it to run over just a little bit. But let me just get a swig of cold tea, because my throat is dry as a desert. Rain says, I have to go. Vera is tired. I will carry her to bed. Good night until tomorrow. Raina, thank you very much for coming. And I know you work very hard on your craft, and I know you work very hard at looking after your dearest Vera as well. So I wish you all the very best and have a good week. So the rest of us, folks, we didn't actually get to the demonstration, did we? We got sidetracked by chatting. Whoopi says, thank you. Just chatting is great. Well, yes, it is. And I appreciate everybody coming. I really do. You guys are awesome. But next live stream, we will actually get to that demonstration. It will be, it'll be Halloween, won't it? Next weekend. So it'll be the normal time on a Sunday, so 6 p.m. Central. I think it will be. I'll put up a broadcast if anything's going to be different, but assume it's going to be 6 p.m. Central. And we will actually get to the demonstration. We will get straight into it, and we will look at compression. For those of you that haven't quite got there with compression yet, that's what we're going to do. And we'll do some parallel compression. We'll do stacked compression as well for vocals. And Wibby says, wear a little something special. I'm not really into Halloween, but I will find something. And I'm pretty sure, oh, what's this? Cancel that. And we will maybe do something scary and funky in Studio One. We'll make a heck of a scary noise and we'll compress it. All right, folks, thanks very much for coming. It is now 18 minutes past 1 in the morning here, and it is the last day of my kids' holiday tomorrow, so I am going to be a very busy boy. Dress up Ken the gerbil. It's Kevin the gerbil. But yes, he will scare you. He will eat you. And then he will fart in your face. All right, folks. Thanks a lot for coming, and I will see you on my next video, which will be episode 8 of the Personas Studio. Let's start again. Take 2 and action. Which will be episode 8 of the Personas Symphonic Orchestra series, and I'll be looking at the music loops and the last little bits and pieces that you get with the orchestra package. So that'll be the next video. That'll be coming this week, and there'll be some other mixing videos coming this week as well, because I've got some other stuff that my mixing tips series has been on hold for a little while, but I'm going to start that back up again, and I'm going to be doing some 5-minute videos, a different tip each week that you can just watch and go and apply. That's the plan. All right, don't dress them up in clear plastic tube. That would be too scary. you know when a dog has that plastic cone over its head. I'll see if I can get one for Kevin. Recording student line says, do you have a video or project the symphonic in use? Have I done one actually using it? I haven't actually done one using it. I've demoed each of the sections of the orchestra. Go check out the series. It's we're into episode 7, I think we've just done, where I've done every section of the orchestra and the choir and some of the other effects and stuff. So go check that out. But I haven't actually done a video where you actually see me using it as actually to compose in Studio One. Not done that yet. That will be coming later, because there is a known issue in Studio One to do with MIDI that is kind of holding me up a little bit at the moment. Excuse me. But as soon as that is fixed, I'll get a whole bunch of MIDI videos out there. So yes, maybe soon. Yeah, not quite sure when, but there will be a video where I'm actually doing some composing with MIDI and with different add-on packages that you can get. So yeah, so those will be coming soon. All right, folks. It is 20 past 1 in the morning. I need to go. Good night, folks.